In this final part of the talk, we describe some work on humor and morality, and it goes way back to ideas introduced in the first part of the talk on universal moral foundations. As a final illustration of research done in our group, I'd like to tell you about morality and humor. This is work done with Alison Vollmer, who has graduated and is now pursuing a career in stand-up comedy. Mark Twain said humor is tragedy plus time. That is, a tragedy, when it becomes remote in time, you can look back on it and laugh. And Mel Brooks said tragedy is when I cut my finger. Comedy is when you walk into an open sewer and die. Again, when there's distance between a tragic event and you, the perceiver, the tragedy can appear humorous. This intuition has been captured in the benign violation theory of humor. As illustrated on the right, there are two axes of events. The vertical axis is the severity of the event. The horizontal axis is the psychological distance of the event. The event can be distant in space, in time, and in your psychological proximity. So on the positive diagonal, there's the sweet spot, the perfect combination of proximity and severity that makes something funny. So the shaded area on the diagonal is the humorous area. On the top left, that's a close tragedy. That's not funny, it's too close. Okay, but on the top right, that's a distant tragedy. As we get over there, things become funny because the tragedy is moved far enough away we can perceive it as humorous. The benign violation theory of humor has emphasized the distance axis. What I'd like to do is consider the severity axis, and in particular perceived severity, and I'd like to take this idea and apply it to moral violations, moral transgressions. The prediction is that the funniness of a joke should vary with the moral foundation weight of the perceiver. So if you consider this vertical axis, at the bottom there's a particular joke. It has a certain distance, which is defined by the setup of the joke. But the perceiver can have a different weighting on a moral foundation that is violated by the joke. So the idea is that if there's a low moral foundation weight, then that person might not find this joke very funny because the violation just isn't very severe. There's no oomph. But if this person has a high moral foundation weight at the top, well, then the violation is too severe and it's not funny. That's just awful. In the middle, there's the sweet spot. There's where funniness should be highest. So here's what we did. Participants first completed the Moral Foundations questionnaire that I described in the beginning of the talk. Then participants rated 25 jokes for funniness and aversiveness on a 1 to 7 scale. As an example, here's one of the jokes we showed them. At the top, the caption says, "Another way to keep an empty seat beside you on the train." And what we see is a middle-aged white dude wearing a t-shirt that says, "Ask me about my religion." This joke is directed at the moral foundation of sanctity or purity. If you weigh that foundation strongly, you might find this joke not funny, you might find it offensive. If you really don't care at all about this foundation, you might find this very bland, but others might find it just the right degree of violation, and they might find the joke funny. Here are the results. First, we needed to check, did the joke really violate the intended foundation? We performed a hierarchical Bayesian ordinal trend analysis of the rated aversion on the moral foundation score for purity sanctity. Here are the data, and the blue lines are the credible lines that fit the data best. And you can see that, indeed, as the moral foundation weighting on purity sanctity increases, the rated aversion also increased. The positive slope of the trend verifies that the joke really did violate the targeted moral foundation. Now, did the funniness trend as predicted? So here we're plotting rated funniness as a function of the participants' moral foundation score on purity sanctity. And indeed, the curvature of the trend confirms the prediction of benign violation theory. That is, there's a sweet spot in the middle where the joke is rated the most funny. This applied to all 25 jokes and to the set of jokes overall. So here are the punchlines from this particular bit of research. We have a novel application of humor theory to moral transgressions. The different moral perspectives really do affect perceived funniness. And a key social function of overt humor is reinforcing group affiliation. Laughing is a social signal of shared attitudes, in this case about moral transgressions. And thereby there's a strengthening of group affiliation and identification. In conclusion, a key goal of our group is to encourage collaborative research in this vast domain. We've succeeded in seeding new interdisciplinary ventures, and our research is ongoing. For the future, there are continuing research questions in our group. They involve the morality in video games, morality expressed in philosophical and other text corpora, machine ethics, morality in theater, morality in law, morality in international policy. And there's a grand vision that at least I have. I hope that we may someday create computer models of complex situations to understand how differential weightings and differential cognitive foci can yield different moral judgments and actions. This could act as an aid to understand and bridge different moral perspectives. Many thanks again to the IU Institute of Advanced Studies and the Henry Remak Seminar Award, and thank you for your attention.